recruiting, not only with the high school kids, but the transfer portal, and
Yeah.
how that's being received and how you're moving along in that area.
You know, there's no doubt. I think when I sit here and, as a head coach, you got to look through two lenses, right? You got to look through one lens, that's the microscope of where we are here now at 11:56 on Tuesday of Houston week, and then you also have to look through that telescope, which is what does the next 2, 3, 4 years look like. I think as a head coach, you always have to balance both of those, especially when you're in this position where we're building a program. And so I think when I think about our program, first thing is you're coming in and you're trying to survey where you are. You're trying to establish a culture, a standard of performance, a standard in what you're doing, get guys to buy in and believe. And sometimes guys have to kind of move on to kind of do that, and then you get that core group that believes, and then this development of those guys, and that's what's going on. And then the big next step is recruiting and adding talent and adding depth to your roster. And I really feel like after 2 years, this recruiting class is going to be probably one of the most important ones that I've been a part of in my whole coaching career. But I'm very excited about that. We've been working extremely hard on recruiting day and night. We have a great recruiting department. They're on top of it. We have 2 recruiting meetings this afternoon, one with the offense, one with the defense, for probably an hour and a half each here in the middle of a game week, and that's typically what we've been doing. But I think recruiting has changed a lot. It's different than maybe what I did at Clemson, but I think it could be advantageous for schools that are kind of in the position that we are, that really need to improve their roster and overall depth quicker. And so I think the transfer portal is huge. I think you look at a team like Michigan State and the success they're having. I know they signed 15 transfers this past year, starting running back, many. I know I've talked to Coach Dykes at SMU. I mean, they're close to 75 transfers in the last 4 years. And and I think this is one unique thing too that people may not know, to kind of peel the onion back a little bit on the transfer. It's not just the transfer portal and the one-time transfer that's new, but the big thing is the 2020 COVID year. All right, so listen to this example. You got a young man that signed somewhere in 2019. So he goes off, he's at another school in 2019. He redshirts in 2019, doesn't play. In 2020, he plays, but that's a free year, it doesn't count. 2021, he plays, right? So now he's used 1 year of eligibility. Now he gets in the portal, and let's say that we're able to get him to come here in January. So he's going to be going in next fall, he's going to be going into his 4th year of college. So he's going to have 3 years where he's been off at college, eating on the training table, lifting weights, doing all this, and then he's going to be coming to us, going into his 4th year of college, but he's going to have 3 years remaining. That's one less than the 18-year-old that I could bring in that was a sophomore in high school, right? And so then the same thing, a young man that graduated in 2020, went to school, and let's say that whether he played or not 2020, it doesn't matter. He didn't. And so now all of a sudden, 2021, this year, he may play in 4 games, and then he decides he wants to leave and go get the portal. Well, now he's coming to us. It's going to be his 3rd year in college. He's got 4 years of eligibility. So that's like a unique window in the history of college football that's never existed, right? That was a 1-year deal with the 2020. And so I think looking at that for where we are, we don't just need guys to come in and just help us for 1 year. Right, I want to bring older guys because of the number of guys that we've lost, because of some of the guys we're going to lose this year. We need some older, experienced guys to come in, but we also need guys that can be here for the next 3 and 4 years, right, as we're planning. So that part gets me excited. Like there's some big time advantages and opportunities that have not been out there before, and then also, I think 5 years ago, 8 years ago, if somebody was transferring, it was probably 90% chance there was some major red flags. Well, now, because of the transfer portal, the popularity, the one-time transfer, my experience of seeing guys that are great young men that just are backups and want a chance to come back home and want a chance to come be able to play. So you can still protect your culture and develop a good culture in your locker room by still bringing in transfers. Now, I think there's a balance to it, right? And so what that balance is, because we're in an area that has great high school players, and you also want to be able to build through through the high school ranks. So what does that look like? Is it 50-50 this year it may be. I mean, it very well could be 50-50. But to answer your question, we've had 2 official visits the last 2 weekends. We had it for Tulsa, and then after East Carolina, as soon as we got back here Friday, we had 3 young men come in that were here all weekend. We've got official visits planned for this weekend and next weekend. And you know, sometimes it's good to keep those quiet, right? We don't want to do other people's recruiting for them. If they find out guys that are coming and where we are looking at guys, right now everybody else is in their season, they're busy with their season, and you know, some of them will get started maybe in December or whatever, kind of looking at some of these guys that are out there. So for us, knowing that we're going to need to take that many transfers and know that mid-year we're going to need a lot of these guys to come in January, we're being very aggressive in bringing guys in for visits, having conversations, and get to it. And even though I can't talk specifically, really going back to his question, one of the reasons that gives me the optimism for where we are, where we're headed, is the response from the recruiting. Because what the kids want is they want, number one, they want to come to a good place with a good culture, good people, good coaches, support system. And I think your best recruiters are your players. And whenever our players talk to these recruits when they come on visits, I think that's been really good for us, for them to describe the culture and the environment they're in. But the second thing is, you know, they want a chance to play, right? They want a chance to be able to come and play, and we have that opportunity, especially in some of our positions, defensive line, where we may lose 6 or 7 guys. I mean, we're recruiting our 2 deep out of the transfer portal, and so opportunity to play. And then the final piece is, you know, there is an opportunity to build something. We've had football for 25 years. You know, we're getting ready to build an indoor facility, you know, first major construction in football-wise for about 15 years, right? We're having serious conversations about the stadium. So, you know, rather than go to another place and just be another guy going through the machine, you got a chance to really kind of, you know, leave a legacy and be able to look back 10, 15 years from now and say, man, I was part of those 5 years that we came and built it. And that message has really resonated with some of these guys that have a lot of opportunities that I think we're going to be able to get here before it's all said and done. So we're spending a lot of time doing that along with getting ready. But you have to. I mean, it's a 24/7 deal, and I get a report, a very detailed report, our coaches do, and myself included, every night on any kid around the country, Division I football, that gets in the portal, how many snaps they played, what their stats are, where they went to high school, how many years they have remaining, and then we immediately start making calls and looking at film and all that. And you have to be able to adjust that quickly, because it is a very competitive market.
Isn't there an opposite side to that though, Jeff? You get some kid that comes in here, plays really well, and he looks at it and says, hell, I can go to a Power 5 school and play.
Right.
How do you keep those kids from doing that?
Well, I think number one, it goes back to your culture. I mean, honestly, if kids like where they are, that's a big part of it. If they feel like they're being treated well, if they feel like there's potential for them to play and to produce, and if they feel like they're getting developed, that's why I think our kids would tell you they feel good about the development that they're getting and the coaching that they're getting. But yeah, there's no question about that. That goes into some of the strategies. Some of the guys that come in as transfers, they've used their one-time transfers. They're kind of a restricted free agent, if you will. The high school guys that sign, they have that one transfer in their back pocket. But ultimately, you know, what I believe is if you treat your young men the right way, if they feel like they're being coached, they're being challenged, they're being loved, then you have a better chance of keeping them around. But there's no doubt, you do see that. I mean, just like this young man we're getting ready to play, this kickoff returner, he started off at Troy, was pretty good there, and decided he wanted to move over to Houston, and he's doing really well there as well. But yeah, it's a lot of different changes, but you know, ultimately for where we are, I think all this new environment we're in gives us opportunity. If we go about it the right way, it gives us opportunity to improve our depth and our team quicker than maybe the old school model where, you know, you got to hit on 25 high school kids and in 3 years you know whether you did it or not. And so that's still part of it, and development's still a big part of it. But you don't have to go far looking. I mean, one of Georgia's best DBs, Darian Kendrick, I recruited to Clemson, was a great player at Clemson, and went over to Georgia, and now he's, you know, doing pretty well over there. So that's just kind of the new environment we're in.
Unfortunately, you know, this week you will unfortunately have to lose 2 scholarships due to the news that just came out over the weekend. Just your reaction to that, obviously this previous staff. And,
Yeah.
just, you know, how you plan to
First,
get
I guess you just kind of list that. There's a long list over here of things you don't control, right? Coming into a new job and you're kind of taking over, you know, a situation that, you know, I was informed. Michael Kelly and our compliance staff did a good job for the last however long all this stuff's been going on of letting me know what I needed to know. But ultimately, at the end of the day, there's nothing that I can do about what's been done previously. But what I can worry about, what I do worry about, is making sure that we do the right things. And we have an excellent compliance staff. I mean, I've been around some really good compliance staff, but they do an awesome job. They're out of practice just about every day. I mean, it's a question and answer weekly. They come to our staff meetings, and I hope one of the reasons that Michael Kelly came and chose me at Clemson was because he felt like he was getting a person of integrity that was going to follow the rules and do things the right way. And so really, that's something that we'll have to deal with for 1 year. But it's also a good reminder to everybody that, you know, if you have questions on things or whatever, you need to go and ask. But you know, we'll adjust accordingly and move forward and just add it to a long list.
You think, again, looking ahead a little bit, but let's say a team like Cincinnati can make the Final Four and show that a group of 5 team can get there, and maybe ultimately, if they change the playoff system where one group of 5 teams is going to get checked, will that help you keep players here because they won't have to think, well, I got to go to Florida or I got to go someplace else, I'm going to play for a national championship.
Absolutely, I definitely think that would help. I mean, we're very hopeful that the college football playoff will expand, and when it does, that, you know, our conference champion would have an opportunity to get in, and that definitely opens up a lot of possibilities and opportunities, and because then you can turn around and say, well, it may be an easier chance to make the playoffs in, you know, certain conferences over the others. If you're in some of those other conferences, if you're not at the top 1 or 2 schools, then your chance of getting in is probably pretty difficult because of the you know, competition each and every week. But yeah, there's a lot of questions on that, but there's no doubt. I think, and it's not just been this year. I mean, there's been several teams in our league over the last few years that have shown how competitive our league is. Me coming from Clemson, playing in the ACC for 12 years, I can tell you right now, there's some very competitive. I mean, just look at Houston right here. We talk about 4th defense in the country. That's not in group of 5. That's Division I college football. There's a lot of good defenses out there. You talk about number 1 and 3rd down defense. You know, they played some good teams. SMU's got a good offense. I mean, they played some good teams already. So this is a very competitive league. If anything, in my first 2 years, I've learned how competitive our league is, and it's also encouraged me that we'll be able to go out and recruit some really talented players because I see how talented some of these guys are at the other schools in our conference.
Coach, with recruiting, if after a recruit comes in and your players come in to you and say, Coach, we don't think he's a fit, how much does that weigh with you?
That's big time. That's a pretty good question right there. Actually, have a little bit of insight. That actually happened my first year here. We had a young man, again, we're just getting here, kind of bringing some guys in, and one of the hosts is now one of our captains. He came up to me on Sunday morning and said, Coach, I just want to give you a little intel. I don't think this young man loves football. Just some of the conversations I had with him, he's just looking at this as a scholarship. He doesn't really love ball. Like, that's something that maybe we can't get in a short time. And then the same thing on the character front. And you know, they get to go spend some time with him at night and all that kind of stuff. And so that's part of the deal. The prospect and their family are kind of feeling us out a little bit of who we are, and we're doing the same thing with them. And I think now that our players really know what our expectations are, what the culture is in our locker room and all that, then they're able to see pretty easily if these young men will be a good fit or not. But yes, that's a big part of it, and we always check with our guys once the guys visit to see what the intel is and if they think they'll be a great fit for us moving forward.
Coach, right now, you have 100% improvement in wins.
Yeah. If we just keep doubling, how many years is that going to be? Right? 4 years. Yeah, I mean,
how important is it to play well these last 4
I mean, at the end of the day, we're at the stage where we want to win, right? Our guys, we've done enough of the playing well and doing a lot of good things, and at the end of the day, our guys want to win. So kind of, again, microscope perspective, we want to do whatever we can do to finish with one point more than our opponent. That's from the microscope. From the telescope perspective, I am pleased, big picture wise, with the growth that I've seen in our locker room within our team. And I have a pretty good idea of what we need to add to our current team and roster for us to take those next steps. But make no mistake, I mean, I want to see us have a great finish here. The good thing is we have some opportunities. If we weren't playing teams that were very good, you go out and beat them, it doesn't really move the needle for anybody and for our guys. But I've just told our guys, I firmly believe that all the hard work that these guys have put in, the way they've pushed through, the way I've seen us improve, if we'll just continue to have the right mindset and play a little bit better and be able to play 4 quarters, then we're going to have an opportunity to be able to get a big signature win that I think would make all of us feel good about finishing the year and moving to the future.
Thank you.
All right, thank y'all, appreciate it.
Women's basketball coach Jose Fernandez.